Shalom Israel. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and there's no God beside them. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit, and salutations to the elect. I come across this article entitled "The Dominican Republic's Expulsion of Thousands of Haitians Show the Brutality of Mass Deportation." And another thing it shows is prophecy. So it says, and for those of you who do not know, right, you Dominicans, or you so-called Dominicans of the tribe of Simeon, which stands for Shemayawan, or afflicted herd, right? You are the 12 tribes of Israel, and your brothers on that share the same island as you, which today is known as Haitians, which is a byword for the Levites, which stands for lawyer or joined to me. It says United States President-elect Donald Trump has threatened mass deportation of undocumented migrants once his second term begins. As he prepares to fulfill his campaign promise, it's important to understand how these types of mass deportations are carried out. The Dominican Republic offers a cautionary tale. Since the beginning of October 2024, Dominican President Luis Abinader Corona has committed to deporting 10,000 Haitians a week. The Organization of International Migration registered 27,000 Haitians have been deported from the DR by the end of October, reaching 40,000 by November 18th. Haitians represent the largest migrant community in the DR because Haiti and the DR share the Caribbean island of Hispaniola. According to the latest National Survey of Immigration conducted in 2017, 497,827 Haitian migrants live in the DR, representing 4.9% of the total population. Assuming that these numbers haven't changed drastically, 40,000 deportations amount to a significant proportion of the Haitian population in the DR. During my research visit of July 2024, it was clear that the Dominican Army, police, and migration officers had been given deportation targets long before the president's October announcement. I spoke to people who said migration raids become more violent and arbitrary when a deadline approached and targets had not been met. In border areas, I was told about deported Haitians who were extorted by army officers and others that had paid to be smuggled back into the DR, only to be deported once again. In addition to extortion, migrants were also subject to violence in the attempts to return to the DR. It says, the pressure to meet the president's targets is propelling the current wave of deportations without regard to either domestic or international law. According to Dominican law, children, pregnant, and lactating migrant women should not be deported. However, civil society organizations report that there have been migration raids in maternity wards, particularly in 2021, but also during the latest months of 2024. Despite the fact Dominican law prioritizes the rights of children to family reunification. My research interview subjects told me lactating women would have been forcefully separated from their infants. They also told me of cases in which Haitian-looking children, in other words, black, were loaded onto deportation trucks on their way home from school. Racial profiling, in fact, is a key aspect of deportation in the DR. Black people are targeted and their identity documents disregarded. For example, in my research visit to northern Dominican border crossing in 2022, I met a young Dominican Haitian teen apprehended by police in the middle of the night. The boy had no time to collect his documents as he was forced into a migration truck. He was held under harsh conditions at the border far from his hometown while his mother looked for transport options to bring his documents to authorities to prove he was in fact Dominican. The boy was lucky he had documents at all. Historically, access to documents among Haitians, Dominicans, and specifically Dominicans of Haitian descent has been chronically lacking. All right, I'm not going to read this whole thing. So it's prophesied Genesis chapter 49, verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. The instruments of cruelty that this is speaking on is the Salakia, is the voodoo, or the Spanish would call it brujeria, that they're so known for. As a matter of fact, over here in the States, you have something known as botanicas. Normally, I'm not gonna say all the time, normally those botanicas are ran by Simeon. You know, I'll say a lot of times. You see a lot of times where those botanicas in the hood are ran by Simeon or Levi. All right, they're known for that witchcraft. O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly. My honor be thou not united. Right? So the Lord, as we are brethren, we as brethren should be united. But in the last days we would not be. As a matter of fact, if you jump to verse 1, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Right? And they're segregated in all parts. In language, you know, to them, and color, which that's a whole nother can of worms. You got Simeon, some of them being as dark or even darker than the Levites, but they still feel like they're better than them because they speak Spanish. But the Lord appointed that they should not be united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. Which goes back into I think what's that, Genesis 22, when Dinah was defiled by that Hamite. So Simeon and Levi pretty much supplanting the Hamite was like, listen, you know, you could be one of us if you circumcise yourself. They went to go circumcise themselves. And, you know, for any man that circumcises himself, you know, past the point of a child, like, or a baby, but they said like 8 days, I believe, that shit wounds you, puts you down for a little bit. And they, understanding that, use the opportunity to slay that Hamite. And I believe is also a few of his brethren. Right? And yeah. Point being is that be thou not united. So even though we share a similar island, you would think that we'd be united and work together, you know, pass along resources and not have to go so far out for help. But this will always be, or this will be like that until the Lord returns. Right? As the scriptures, as it is written of in Amos the 9th chapter, that the Lord will heal. Let me see if I can grab that. That's another reason we need the Lord to come back. Amos chapter 9, verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacles of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, the separation. This is one of the many separations between our people. Other separations is that we can't understand each other because we've been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, you know, under different captors. We got a lot of our people that speak Spanish, you know, that feel like they can't vibe with, the English-speaking, so-called English-speaking tribes, such as the so-called blacks or the so-called West Indians. But we're one and the same. We're all hated. We all have a common enemy. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. Because in the time of David, we were all one. We were all together. All right? But during his son's reign, reading that in the book of 1 Kings, that's when a separation occurred. You know? But yeah, man, with that, shalom to the elect.